Welcome to the Bladtcast, Zack Snyder's Bladtcast. That's right. And even the Bladtcast has not done an episode of 4 hours and 2 minutes until now. No, just kidding. I actually thought it would be fun to do a 4 minute and 2 second review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. But then I thought we'd really be selling it and ourselves short. In any case, I am Christian Blatt, as always, and joined by Jeff DeRay. For people watching, I'm pointing at him.
I went silent because normally it's just about being on a podcast, but since this has become a video thing, now I'm just going to do silent miming.
That's good.
Like getting really into Charlie Chaplin. I feel like I can bring a lot of his stuff to the podcast, like this one.
But just the way he lived his personal life, right? Not so much the way he did the movies. You're not interested in that?
I was mostly just referring to shaving to a mustache.
That's, you know what though, that mustache doesn't work anymore, not because of Charlie Chaplin. And of course, as always, our friend William J. Sterling drinking a non-alcoholic beverage, it looks like, but
Spindrift.
Yeah,
orange mango.
Right. An orange mango. Well, we are here with an episode that I'm calling Open Sesame as an homage to my favorite second of the film, which we'll get to. But I wanted to start big picture overall. I think it's safe to say none of us were impressed by Joss Whedon's Justice League from 2017, which, it wasn't so much, there's stuff that we saw in this new version that was still in there, but an awful lot of stuff. And I have to say that the stuff I liked the least was all missing from this version. The bad jokes were not here. And a lot of that. So, but if anybody here in this little, three-way split between us, secretly, I think we did an episode about that Justice League, and I don't think any of us were particularly blown away by it. And now our friend Raging Rhino saw that version in theaters 5 times.
I thought it was 7.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. It's 7 times.
More than I saw Man of Steel, which
and he's already seen Zack Snyder's Justice League twice. He lives in the Central Time Zone, so he got up at 2 a.m.
Oh shit!
Watched it until 6 a.m. and then found time to watch it again later that day.
I'm halfway through a second watch right now.
Yeah,
2 hours.
So I'm going to take that to mean you hated it, Will. That's why you're watching it a second time already.
To be fair, I did have some martinis.
Sorry, let me just interject. Raging Rhino makes a point. Yeah, 7. Will remembered better than I did. Yes,
because anytime you see something in a theater a preposterous amount of times, you never forget.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I tweeted at him yesterday, and I think I had the number right. It's just 5. The 7 hours maybe is what I was thinking. And I'm sorry, Will. What were you saying?
I don't know what I was saying. Was I saying anything?
I was saying that if you're watching it a second time, you clearly hated the movie.
Oh yeah. No, I mean we'll get into it. But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
All right, that's the show, everybody.
4 minutes, we make it? 4 minutes?
We don't even care. It's only 3 minutes and 20 seconds. We don't even care what Jeff thinks. No, Jeff, just overall thoughts.
Overall thoughts, I liked it. I thought it was a lot better, obviously. I like long movies. I like long movies that develop things that aren't long just because it's like, see this dramatic shot of some fucking trees. Like, I didn't like Tree of Life, but I like long movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what's also long action superhero movies, so long as they're not Wonder Woman 1984. 85? Which year is it?
No, when that movie started,
I like long superhero movies.
When that movie started, it was Wonder Woman 1984. By the time it was over, it was Wonder Woman 1986.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that one could have lost a half hour. But yeah, I mean, long movies, that's why the extended Lord of the Rings cuts are so great. Because you're like, more information? Yeah.
It's interesting that we're bringing that movie up because I literally said during this Justice League, like, see, she's so easy to do right. How could you have fucked her up so bad? Like every scene she had in this, I was like, oh, Wonder Woman's kicking ass. I like some Wonder Woman.
It was one of the biggest complaints from the original Justice League was that, Wonder Woman had been so good in Batman vs Superman and of course her standalone movie. But I was just like, she is not good in this. And, I was thinking like, well, that's 2 movies in a row. She hasn't been good now after Wonder Woman 1984. But this is like, all they needed to do was just slow it down a little, give her a little bit more time. somehow the scene with her and Alfred making tea is like one of my favorite moments.
Great. Love that scene.
And by the way, for some reason, I just hadn't thought about it in a while. I kind of forgot Jeremy Irons was Alfred. I thought it was going to be Michael Caine, and I'm like, oh right, that's not these movies.
Tea. I rewatched the theatrical cut like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Great.
Just a refresher to see what was different. I mean, I knew they basically cut an hour of Snyder's footage for the theatrical cut. Yeah. And then the fact that we got a 4-hour movie, I'm like, this is almost 3 hours of footage otherwise not seen, which is fucking mind-boggling that you could just pulverize a movie this much and be like, we think this is better.
I mean, I'm glad that you're admitting to self-flagellation watching Justice League again.
Oh, I pulverized it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, Raging Rhino says the only thing worth keeping from the Whedon cut is the Flash versus Superman race. I know people who hated that. I thought it was fun. I actually liked the Flash versus. I guess you're one of the people.
But here's the thing. It's when you watch this one and they're like, it's a radioactive place. Nobody fucking lives there. I was like, now that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, why was there a fucking Russian he shows up to Chernobyl or wherever it is, and he goes, it smells toxic, perfect. And I'm like, cool, there you go. One line that justifies why they're in an abandoned fucking place. Why did you put a Russian family there? Why did you put a bunch of Russian
By the way, essentially the same Russian family from Age of Ultron. The Joss Whedon cut has
it is the same fucking thing.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. And when it turned out that the Snyder cut was going to be real, my long planned troll was always going to be to say to people, bring back the Whedon cut. I wanted to say that like the day it came out.
But then Joss Whedon went,
Joss Whedon went and got himself canceled, and I'm like, nobody's going to think that's funny anymore. And then also, this was so much better. I look, the way that I was thinking about this is that it's the movie we should have gotten 4 years ago, but we would never have gotten because it would not have been 4 hours. There's no way it would have been released anything resembling this.
Right.
But maybe because they did like the 3.5 hour re-release of Batman vs Superman.
Was but that was on DVD though.
It was 3 hours.
No, they released it in the theaters. I thought
it did come out that way.
I thought we went and saw it.
We didn't. It was just home release.
Yeah.
I would remember seeing that in the theater because I saw the theatrical cut 4 times. Yeah.
Right. Avengers Endgame was 3 hours and 2 minutes. I felt like that was, where we had to, draw the line. And then Zack Snyder's like, hold my beer for an extra hour, and, but look, even if you somehow get it down to a manageable, I don't know, 240 or 3 hours, even it was not going to be this movie that we ever got. And this movie only exists because Warner gave him like $70 million more to be like, okay, go make the movie you wanted.
And he took no money. He's like, you can't tell me what to do. You don't have to give me more money. Don't pay me more, but you need to shut the fuck up and let me just do it. And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
And you can tell that just by the music choices alone, because this was basically Watchmen soundtrack volume 2. And I was there for it. Honestly, I like that.
The music motif worked, except I kind of liked that version of Come Together from the theatrical
I love that.
version.
That's on my workout playlist. Like at least a couple times a week, I have that song going, and I'm like, fuck yeah. I think that the original trailer that was released before Zack Snyder got replaced, that was in the first trailer, and Junkie XL mixed that. So that was a choice. That was a Zack Snyder choice for marketing. I was hoping it would show up in the movie, but it's okay.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know. Who knows? They would have maybe had to relicense the song, and at this point,
credit for the theatrical version. So maybe they were like,
fuck it. And Raging Rhino, the Ultimate Edition of Dawn of Justice is so much better than the theatrical release.
That 30 minutes makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and look, it's something that I think a lot of us have thought about movies in the past. A great example. I'm trying to remember either Spider-Man writer Dan Slott or Spider-Man writer Jerry Conway. One of them tweeted out that Star Trek: The Motion Picture is a bit of an insufferable movie. If my mom is still here in the chat, she would agree to that. And then they they put out an extended edition with like 12 extra minutes, and you're like, ugh, you're gonna put 12 more minutes in there, and it's like, oh no, what they took out were like little bits on ends of scenes, little nuances, little character stuff, and you're like, no, it works so much better somehow, making the movie longer. Right. And then this, obviously, you're getting a chance at a do-over. Like, he didn't actually get to finish his movie, and he's getting to add all this extra stuff. And I think that what this was very interesting, and they really built up so many of the characters, including Alfred, by the way. And I think everybody, pun intended, he did everyone justice, but just like the theatrical version, Flash stole the movie again for me. And I know that you're not a Barry guy, Will, but I think that I'm all there for this version of the Flash.
But it's easy because speedster scenes always steal movies. Once you get into that slow motion, you get a nice score going, and you're like, okay, I like this scene. I rewatched that scene with Iris because I was like, because Natasha she was like, why is he going? So I was like, because if he touches her too fast, he'll blow her up. So I had to go back to the beginning and see, they let you know by the shoes exploding, the pavement crumbling. I like those little differences. And I think one of the things to me that let me know how much better of a take I felt like Snyder had on it were literally the eyes of Steppenwolf. The eyes that they used felt real, and they actually conveyed emotions. They conveyed this insecurity that Steppenwolf had. So I actually cared and was afraid of Darkseid. Versus watching Justice League, I was just like, is this Liam Neeson or not? What the fuck is this bad guy? I don't understand.
Yeah, the basically the first minute where Steppenwolf explains that he wants to get back into Darkseid's good graces, you're like, okay, great. And when we find out they betrayed him, it's I don't know, a minute of dialogue, and you're like, that fix was all we needed. And
doesn't look like a fucking clown. Rewatching the theatrical version, I was like, I forgot how fucking stupid they made him look.
And his death scene is much cooler here. But I want to get back to what Jeff was talking about. I really like the Flash sequence, the slow-mo, put the hot dog in the pocket. But what I don't like about Zack Snyder is put that hot dog in that pocket. That's why I said it. The embodiment of what I don't like about Zack Snyder is the fucking sesame seed. And it's just when you slow down action, slowing down action is cool. Even slowing down a car crash, especially when you're Quicksilver, I'm sorry, the Flash.
Stop it. He was created way before Quicksilver.
Yeah, but in the movie, we already had Days of Future Past before.
It was a great scene, but it was more for jokes.
No, but it's so we have the so it's the guy getting the burger, and by the way, nobody should be eating anything they dropped on the floor of that truck. Let's be honest about that. That should have been guess I got to get another burger. But I don't hate the scene. I hate that instance. Some of the slow-mo I thought was actually really cool, especially some of the Wonder Woman stuff. But then there was some of it I'm like, I don't know, if you speed up all the slow-mo, does that shave off 5 minutes? That gets
I thought it was you could say a good half hour.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, the slow-mo is all necessary because it's all letting us know about the world that Barry exists in when he's in the Speed Force to make sense of it when the world explodes in front of him. And he's like, let me go fix that.
Yeah, no,
Barry. The
Barry slow-mos are good. It's just in general. And obviously, just as with the earlier version, the moment when Superman turns at him in his little slow-mo world, that's still great.
There was a couple pieces I'm like, oh, thank God that was in the original cut. I didn't want to. I will say there's one joke that was lost, and I didn't even realize. Maybe Zack Snyder just cut it because I was like, did they reshoot this joke? When he's trying to recruit Aquaman, and he goes, "Strong man, strongest alone," and in the theatrical cut, he goes, "You ever heard of the phrase?" And Bruce goes, "That's not that's the opposite of what the phrase means." I was like, I thought that was funny, but
you know what? I forgot about that, but now that you say that, yeah, I think that there are some jokes still in here. It's not like Joss Whedon was the only one who put in jokes. There's a couple of great jokes. That's still in here. This was even in the commercial for the theatrical version. What's your superpower? I'm rich.
That's
and sort of the reminder of that is oh, how did you work things out with the bank? I bought the bank. It's just Bruce Wayne can solve
great
problems.
Batman lines. Yeah.
Bruce Wayne can solve problems the American way. Just buy everything.
Buy shit.
And so, yeah, I think that I think that they did. The Joss Whedon version definitely did a disservice to Wonder Woman, did a disservice to everybody. But and it's little things. I was reading a review that didn't like the exchange with the little girl who asked if she can be her when she grows up, and she says you can be anything you want. And I'm like, well, why the fuck did Joss Whedon cut that out? I'm like, that's everything that Wonder Woman is supposed to be.
Also,
that's what
who doesn't?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like that interaction? Like, what piece of shit is like, I don't like that she encouraged this little girl. That makes me angry. I'm like,
it's like,
fuck off.
I'd like it a lot more if a random adult picked up the little girl and dangled her over a balcony for no discernible reason, just to endanger her life a little. Then I would relate to the little girl.
That was a great moment. Casey, I watched it with her. I actually managed, she was willing to watch a 4-hour Justice League movie. And in that little moment,
she really does like you.
She does. We only got about an hour and a half into Batman vs Superman before she had to go to sleep because she was tired, but that's okay.
Well, and also you slipped her some of Granny's peach tea, so that always makes her a little bit extra sleepy. But I broke it up. I watched most of it in the afternoon and then like the last hour at night. But that's the beauty of it being like broken up into these 6 parts. And I know we're sort of jumping around a little bit, but I want to just stick with the characters for a minute. Who do you think we got the most improvements out of? I think that Cyborg's story definitely is so much more improved just by there being more of it. Because my biggest thing when I saw that. Well, that's what I mean. I mean, it was just
like the football scenes.
It was like, oh yeah, he just doesn't like his dad. Was basically what was in.
I hate you, father.
Yeah.
This
like,
robot's got daddy issues.
It's like, why is he so mad?
As far as we could tell in the Joss Whedon version, maybe he just doesn't like his dad because he only tips 10% at restaurants, and it's
embarrassing.
And, it's just like, oh man. So the fact that we got all this, and that's what I said after the theatrical version was like, oh man, Cyborg more than anyone is like. This movie ought to have come after a standalone Flash movie. They shouldn't have been in such a rush to make it because of a variety of reasons. One of which is that Shazam would have been in it. I mean, there would have been no reason for Shazam to not be in this if it came out, 1 year later or 2?
I don't think that was part of Zack Snyder's plan, though. I don't think he wanted Shazam to be in the Justice League.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because I don't know.
I mean, he would have been in it.
I don't think that if Shazam had come out, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't have been in this movie, and I think it only would have made it better. But because it would have made it more fun. But the fact that we didn't get the Flash standalone movie yet hurt, but the fact that we didn't know anything about Cyborg, and I'll be honest, he's the guy that I know the least about out of all of these. I've seen Teen Titans go to the movies, and he used to be on the Super Friends when I was a kid, the last season that I think they made of it. But Will, let me ask you first, because I know how you have such an affinity for so many of these characters. Who do you feel like is best served by this 4-hour version of it?
I think, funny enough, I think Wonder Woman, actually. Because they also give all the Amazons as like that. I don't know. She's kind of tangentially still part of that story, but then like her discovering the tomb and all that stuff. That's like very interesting and cool. You know what I mean? Like she also, I don't know. She, even though she's already had plenty of time to be established, she still kind of stands out the most to me. But I thought that I do think storyline wise, Cyborg definitely gets the second best treatment to set that up.
Yeah, and I think that he was probably the most underserved by the original version, and I think that look, Ray Fisher's very real problems with Joss Whedon are something that they continue to look into. But just from an artistic standpoint, he's like, wait, I did all that shit in terms of acting, and you cut it all out.
Fucking take it out, yeah.
So you could put your fucking Russian family in there,
the Russian family, and like boob jokes and like Jason Momoa sitting on the lasso of truth and being like, I'd totally fuck this girl if I had a chance. Oh shit, the truth. Yeah,
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah.
Jeff, who do you think? Obviously, I think we're in agreement that this was huge for Cyborg, that we got so much more of him. But who do you think is best served by this version?
I mean, as I said before, if it's any character in the movie, it's Steppenwolf, because I think having a bad guy that I give a shit about makes a huge difference. It's always the best ones. But if it's somebody from the Justice League, I'd say I don't know. Everybody was better, honestly, because it's like
Yeah.
it's a kind of a tough question. Like Batman was deeper. You could see that he actually was like affected by the death of Superman. He was like looking up to this. I don't know what you'd call it, but he was looking up to the figure that he set for him, or the example, and he was trying to live up to this, like saving the world and sacrificing yourself thing that this guy just did in front of him. And you can see how much like he's trying, and even like he's badass, but he's sufficiently not powerful enough to do most things. Like he's constantly willing to sacrifice himself, right? Like when he shoots all the missiles and then is like crashes that transport character, when he's like, oh, don't worry about me, they're all going to come after me, that's the plan. And then he's driving around in the Batmobile. He doesn't feel as powerful. Like I feel like I haven't seen the original or the theatrical release in a while, but I remember them just like kind of cruising in on the bad guys, and it was like, oh, the Batmobile, and I'll just run you over with this, like fuck you. Whereas this one, it's like, I'm in a flimsy metal thing. These guys are aliens that'll rip off the thing, and like hopefully somebody shows up to save me when that happens. Yeah. So it's just like he gave himself stakes. Everybody, like, I appreciated that. I obviously said I liked the scenes with Ezra Miller in the Flash. He was funny. He did good comedic relief. Like he was relatable without being a complete fucking moron. Like he felt like in the theatrical cut. Like because it's just times where it's like, bro, you're supposed to be brilliant. Like why are you acting like you don't know how to do anything? Yeah. And so whereas in this one he's just poorly adjusted, bad social skills. Right? Okay. Instead of like him saying he has no social skills, but really just being some kind of idiot in the theatrical release. Obviously, Wonder Woman being allowed to chop heads off, I think that's a huge.
I agree. No, she killed those dudes in the museum or whatever.
A lot of people killed a lot of people.
Yeah, they all killed a lot of people.
But and then speaking of, I don't know if either of you guys saw the first Winter Soldier Falcon episode yet.
Yes.
Oh no, I haven't yet.
Well, I won't talk about it then.
Here's the thing about that. It was what I think you can say is that show is a lot more violent than I thought something on Disney Plus would be, and there's a lot more swearing. There's so much swearing on it that I'm like, I didn't think that Disney Plus was going to have that on their shows. But yeah, the violence in particular, you're like, okay, Falcon came to play.
Yeah, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that somebody basically just gets dropped out of the air. And they're just going to fall to their death, and you're like, there's nothing but that happening for them. There's no secret Spider-Man spider stuff that caught them on the wall later.
We were talking about that on Marvel Movie Talk, one of the shows that I do here on the Bladtcast Entertainment Network. Thank you very much. Also known as BEG, the Bladtcast Entertainment Network. And I was actually thinking it was going to be like G.I. Joe. In G.I. Joe, every plane or helicopter that crashed, you saw everybody with a parachute floating down to safety. And I just figured like it's Disney, so that's what we're going to get. But yeah, that's Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think everybody should check that out, see where that's going. But it did like lend itself to the sort of, watching them on the same day, really. It's like, oh yeah, this is Wonder Woman being that violent, and the fact that, she beheads Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf's story is so much better. And I think that if Zack Snyder had been able to do his 2 Justice League movies where Darkseid was the second one, it's like, well, yeah, you start off, think about the first Avengers movie. The bad guy is Loki. You're so far away from Thanos at that point. Yeah. You make a mistake by going to Ultron, but that's neither here nor there. So I think that, he works in this context. Just got to give the story just a little bit of air. You just have to let it breathe. You understand him. You understand his motivation. He's actually pretty cool. And then he just gets his ass handed to him by Superman, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of fun to watch.
But that also allows that you needed that, because if Superman comes in early and still struggles, then how the fuck are you going to up the game? Like, how are you upping the ante when by far your most powerful guy is struggling in any way? So that's why you needed him to just not be there at all, which I felt like he was gone for so much longer, and when he came back, it actually meant something in this film.
Yeah, he comes back like, I don't know, halfway through the other version or whatever.
Like 2.5 hours, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So Raging Rhino points out Steppenwolf went from a generic villain to a brutal threat. Yeah, I mean, you really feel, the damage that he's doing. And a little shout out to us, Will Thomas Parham in the chat saying, what up, both of us. Good to see him. Yeah. I mean, I was assume he's still here. He didn't just do a drive-by, but it happens.
It does.
So, yeah. So I think that I somehow, by the movie being longer, I feel like the lowest scenes are probably amongst my least favorite in here. I think that in a shorter running time, they work, but it's like I don't think they shot anything new with her. You know, it doesn't. I don't actually know what they shot new. I think they did some new stuff with Ray Fisher.
What Zach's shot new?
What Zach shot? Yeah,
pretty much all the end. That all the future shit
and
the Martian Manhunter.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that separately. So Thomas makes a point. I was surprised to learn that the best part of Justice League were from Snyder's original vision. Yeah, it is interesting that I don't know. I think that everybody associated with the project, no one felt that Joss Whedon coming on helped anything. It didn't add anything.
The fucking opening on that rooftop sequence with that criminal tied up and the like just bad joke, like funny haha part of it. Batman riding a parademon through the sky. It's just so silly.
I don't pay attention to these things, but is it safe to assume that like the executives who give notes at Warner Brothers should just fucking stop forever?
They absolutely. This is like proof to be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
This person obviously loves this universe and cares a great deal about it. You should probably shut your mouth because you don't. You're just an idiot who has terrible ideas. The most of which firing him and then hiring some idiot to fuck him.
I think studios should maybe adopt suggestion policies. Like you don't have to make these changes. Like if you like our idea, feel free to say no.
Steve, aka Anonymous, writes:
If it hadn't been for the bad network notes, obviously you never would have gotten this version of this. Because look, if the Joss Whedon version had made them the Avengers size money that they wanted, then God only knows where things would have gone from there. You know, if that had worked, if people had been like, I kind of want to see Henry Cavill with his mustache digitally pixelated out, which I think none of those shots are obviously in here.
Right.
And talking about him, I'm correct that we didn't get the black suit in the earlier version, right? Is that correct. Just in this? Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's pretty sweet. I wish we'd gotten it. I wish we'd gotten the mullet, but I will take just the black suit. What did you think, Will, when you saw the black suit?
It was great. It's funny that he had a regular suit in the ship that he could have taken, but he was like, no, I'm doing a black suit. So I was like, I like that there's this unspoken conscious decision that he chooses the black costume. But any footage that they used from Snyder's version in the end of Joss Whedon's, they had to have digitally colored that suit because I think they shot it with a black suit. So I don't know how much of that footage got reused or was reshot. But
and that sounds like an executive saying like, "No, Superman's blue. That's what he's got to wear." So
what's this black shit?
And they brightened it too. They wanted him to be more like, now he's the shucks Superman.
Yeah, Raging Rhino, exactly what Will said. WB executives should shut the fuck up. Warner Brothers, this is from Thomas Parham, needs to stop making superhero movies by committee. And the black suit is the shiz. I just really wanted to say that. I think we'll talk a little bit more about this, but towards the end, let's talk a little bit about where they can possibly go from here. What were you going to say, Jeff?
I just want them to acknowledge that there's clearly a market for violent rated R superhero universe.
Right.
Like, let's make that. Let's lean into that because I am telling you, you'll make money on it. Like if you do it, they'll come. Look at the success of like The Boys and some of these other shows that have like gotten to do whatever the fuck they want. Give us that. That's what.
Deadpool's a perfect example of what happens. Like you don't even need to go that far though. You don't have to make Deadpool. You don't have to make The Boys. And I can see wanting to release your movies as PG-13. And I think that there's some way to figure it out. But there are characters like don't ever make a Punisher movie that's PG-13. Don't make a Deadpool movie that's
unless
PG-13.
It stars Dolph Lundgren. I would watch an old Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher. If they're going to open up the multiverse,
as like Old Man Punisher.
Old Man Punisher. Give me that fucking movie.
I would love that. What were I think it's at its runtime of 4 hours and 2 minutes. It's very unwieldy. It's I don't think it needs to be that long.
Well, and you could be done at 3.5 hours, which again, they've released movies that long because the last epilogue part is the last half hour, which again, you could clearly didn't need to do.
It ended like 10 times.
Yeah. Or you could also just
Lord of the Rings.
You could also just put the credits and then do all that half hour. So most people will have left. I will say that clearly this was Joss Whedon. One of my least favorite lines in the theatrical version was, "Now we can have a league of our own." But it did remind me that Jesse Eisenberg has never worked for me as Lex Luthor, and I think it was like this was just like, I can't really do anything about that though, because that's who they had. Let's talk about the epilogue stuff. I think it's mostly all pretty cool. 100% unnecessary. I'm not saying that I didn't like it. I was just like, oh, we didn't need any of this, especially not after 3.5 hours.
Right.
But I thought it was pretty cool. You know, you get another nightmare sequence for Bruce. It was a little abrupt the way it started. But what did you think of the epilogue stuff, Will?
It's okay. I mean, like what you're saying, it's like it's not necessary. I was reading a story in Variety about it actually, and Zack Snyder saying like, originally they were like, no, you can't, don't do that, because then it's going to make people think that there's going to be more, and this is we're trying to make this like, you know, the end. And he's like, that's not how these stories work. Like, even if this is the end, like a comic book story or a movie, like has to inherently set up that the story would presumably continue in some degree. Like, it isn't just like they win and then that's it, because you obviously know Darkseid's still out there. So I appreciated like what it stood for. It really went on. It just felt like it went on like a little pretty long, and the movie ended multiple times. But I mean, at this point, we got the Snyder cut, and they're like, what's the difference between 3.5 hours and 4 hours? And if he wants to add more to it just because that's what he wants to do, I'm like, great, man, do it. I'm not mad. Like, I'd be stupid to be like, this movie sucks.
What if he takes a page out of George Lucas, and like every 2 years he just adds another half hour? So it's like at some point it's a 7-hour movie.
Only if he adds the Jedi Rocks song, but like a different version, like an Amazon Rocks or Atlanteans Rock or something like that.
What did you think, Jeff, about the epilogue?
I agree in that it definitely feels like. See, here's the thing though. I don't know. I haven't read up on the stories, so maybe I'm just one of those idiot fans that he's poorly encouraged. But I'm like, if we got this movie because people were so fucking hype about how much they hated the other cut and wanted to see this one, and they were willing to give him a full movie's budget just to finish this one, why, when he has now set up making the other movies, do we think that that's impossible?
It's not.
So I think it's perfectly legitimate. And maybe I'm the idiot for thinking it's possible, but if it is, thank you, because I'm glad you set it up, and I'm glad you gave people a reason to get excited and make more of this kind of stuff, because I enjoyed it and I want to see the other ones.
Yeah, and even if Warner Brothers is adamant at this point that they don't want to do that, but I think a lot of people are like, yeah, but I kind of want to see that Darkseid movie. You sure you don't want to make that? I mean, like, what were we going to say? Well,
honestly, money talks. So
yeah,
if Warner Brothers, like the same room full of morons who told them to hack it in half and hire Joss Whedon, could also be like, well, the subscriber, like the ratings on this streaming service and subscriber numbers, like I don't know how they would actually check all that stuff, but I could easily see them being like, we could make a bunch of money though. Well, let's give it a try.
Here's the thing: if they see, an increase in subscribers, say for March 1st, and then all of a sudden on April 1st they've lost like millions of subscribers, they're like, oh, people really did want this. And I think that sort of lends the idea to the commercial viability of this. I think it would have to be as a special event, not for long engagements, but the fact that it's shot for IMAX and it was presented that way is, I'm like, look, before I started it, I couldn't imagine ever sitting through this movie in a movie theater. But then I'm like, it would probably be pretty cool to see it on an IMAX screen. Like, that's the only way I would see it. I don't need to see it on a regular movie theater screen. But if they're going to do an IMAX presentation, since it's shot in that format, I can't believe that I would go and see that 4-hour movie.
He even told them where to put the intermission between acts 4 and 5. Because he tweeted out how to watch it, and he's like, take a break between 4 and 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went and saw The Hateful Eight in IMAX, or it was 70 millimeter on Christmas Eve, actually, when they presented it. And it was fucking amazing. And they had an intermission, and they're like, hey, go get some popcorn and pee, and then come back.
A while ago, Raging Rhino said, if I can sit through Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, I can sit through Zack Snyder's Justice League. I sat through that theatrical Hamlet too, and it also had an intermission. It's like, yeah, that's all you need to do. If you give me a break where I can pee and refill my bucket of popcorn, which Jeff knows, that's really the main reason I'm going to the movie theater at this point, is for the popcorn. I don't know that that's the sort of release that's like gonna redefine the box office, and it's not gonna.
No, but I think if they did select cities and screenings, like it might sell out some places. Like I would see that like probably twice in the theater just because it's shot for that aspect
because
ratio.
It would be special. I agree with you. I think it would be special to see it, and Raging Rhino would definitely go. And Thomas says if Warner execs were smart, and we know they aren't, New Gods would tie into the fourth world elements of the Snyder Justice League. So
I kept telling Casey how pissed I was that Granny Goodness wasn't in this movie. I guess she's kind of featured in the very end, like through the portal or whatever.
You see her always when she's constantly next to Darkseid. There's like an old lady. Yeah, there's a giant old lady right next to Darkseid on the other side from Desaad. Desaad's on his left, Granny Goodness is on his right, and when they're walking away at the end, that's still Granny Goodness.
The end I heard. I kind of missed it.
I'd seen her. She doesn't say anything, which I was disappointed about. But I saw her constantly. I was like, is that old? Because it's like she's the classic old lady with the white hair, but it's short because
I didn't see her in like all the flashback stuff where they fought on Earth the first time.
They didn't show that because they didn't even show Steppenwolf in the old fight. It was just Darkseid because that was before Darkseid was their lord. They set that up, that it was before he had assumed the throne, because they said he had found the anti-life equation before he had assumed the throne. So that would have, and he didn't know it was Earth because it was some primitive world and it was lost to him, right? That was supposed to be the storyline.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, regardless, I could use
what I do remember about seeing,
I might have watched it once.
I'm going through a second time because I'm like, I know I missed a few things.
Yeah, what I do remember about the theatrical version is that when we saw a Green Lantern on screen for the first time, that was still early enough in the movie where they hadn't lost the audience yet. They did lose their shit for that, though. And so obviously we know that that's going to be an HBO Max series. And I know that Ryan Reynolds tweeted that he was watching it for the first time. He'd never seen it before, and he live tweeted it. So
Green Lantern?
Yeah, Green Lantern. Yeah,
that's
so
funny.
I thought he was. He was like, "Hey, Blake Lively's in this movie." I don't know. I forget what else.
I didn't know Taika Waititi was in that movie.
Yeah, I forgot.
Watch it.
Yeah,
he looks like Richard Ayoade in that.
He does, and he's got like a terrible American accent. But
yeah. So I don't know. We also get the inclusion of Martian Manhunter, and I don't. To me, like the scene with Martha Kent, and then that's Martian Manhunter, and I'm like, wait, what?
I didn't need that at all. It was very weird.
Yeah, it's like, look, if he didn't show up again at the end, then I'm like, all right, I guess you want to introduce him somehow. But then I'm like, wait, why is that? And that felt to me like something that was shot after the fact, and that when they shot that scene, it was Martha Kent. Although, she apparently moving away from the farm where she actually still lives later in the movie. So it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
But wasn't she moving back to the farm at the very end? Wasn't the house just empty and they just went there because no one would buy it because it's in the middle of nowhere?
Right. That's
anyways,
probably what it was.
Not to be that guy, but I'm pretty sure that they had to do that because the idea is that Lois had just locked herself away in the apartment, was never going anywhere, wasn't seeing anyone. So they had to reinforce the idea of he was trying to get her out so that she would be there. But then that doesn't really track because she was constantly going to his memorial. So she could have potentially been there anyways. Yeah. So I thought it was for that, but then I just talked myself out of it. So yeah, that was a stupid scene.
Listen,
fucking jerks.
It's cool to see Martian Manhunter because I like him a lot. And but ultimately I was like, this wasn't really necessary.
No,
but again, at this point, we're talking about a 4-hour movie of like this dude just getting to do whatever he wants. So at that point, it was like, whatever, that's cool.
Yeah. It's a decent interaction with Bruce Wayne. I thought that that they're talking. He's like, okay,
I think that was shot later actually because I feel like Ben Affleck he got real skinny like right around those reshoots.
Yeah,
and he looked real thin in that. And in the nightmare sequence, he was kind of like thin in the mask. I was like, this was skinny Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
You mean he's not puffy from alcoholism?
Well, he was buff when they shot the original.
And I guess that it sort of begs the question that if they're going to do any more Puffy the Vampire Slayer, if they're going to do any more sort of team ups, it's like, okay, so do they use use Robert Pattinson as Batman? Yeah. Does Affleck get to be Batman again?
Now. Yeah, well, Flash, he will.
In the Flash, he will, but it's sort of like, what do they do? And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the Joker, though. I don't want to move on from the nightmare sequence.
Or how about we talk about the fact that the motherfucking Bat Tank from Batman Dark Knight Returns was in this. I cheered for that scene specifically, and Natasha was like, "What? There's a Bat Tank? Did you see that?"
Bat Tank. I found Jared Leto less annoying than in Justice League. I didn't love him in that, but I also didn't hate it. I know everybody hated it. I thought that what didn't work about that Joker was mostly visual, and then this version didn't have it. So like somehow he doesn't have the tattoos, he doesn't have like the gold teeth and all of that. Their interaction was pretty great. The fact that like Bruce is telling him, "I'm going to fucking kill you," is I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what we want. And and the Joker's like, "I'm your best friend," and he's like, "No, I'm going to kill you." I think that, again, the definition of stuff that didn't need to be in here, but I found it entertaining. But Will, we know how you feel about Leto Joker. What did you think about that?
I mean, if you take away that garbage production design version of him, like, it's instantaneously 100% better. I don't think Jared Leto's a bad actor, and I don't actually think his version of the Joker is the worst thing in the world. It's just the way it was presented, which was like a David Ayer movie thug with all the tattoos. And I'm like, this isn't fucking Training Day, man. This is a fucking superhero movie. Don't make the Joker a fucking gangster this way. So, yeah.
I'm sorry. It felt like, what's the term for something where it's like, it feels like it's niche to a specific time period. So it's like, it's not going to work.
It felt like from the early 2000s, and that movie was made a couple years ago. I was like, what are you doing?
But I'm saying, like, even the character, right? Like the idea of somebody with the face tattoos and everything, it feels like it's a specific kind of menacing to a specific kind of thing that just doesn't work for the idea of the Joker. Like, he's supposed to be like an older kind of scary, like a more unreasonable, crazy person versus somebody who watched Menace to Society too many times and is like, I don't give a fuck. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. I also I think part of the nightmare stuff that I kind of enjoyed was because it feels similar, and the Leto look feels similar to like Dark Knight's Metal and Death Metal, these two stories that Death Metal just wrapped up over the fall. I don't know.
Went into recently. Fall. I remember that going on a little bit.
That was my departure from collecting comics again, except now Wally is taking over as the Flash in the regular monthly book. So I'm like, just when I get out, they fucking pull me back in.
Yeah, I thought that already happened. I thought Wally was already back.
It's the only book I'm going to buy. And it just kind of reminded me of the Death Metal / metal kind of thing with his like long hair and like that barren landscape. I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, so I didn't hate it. And his laugh like didn't bother me as much. I think mostly just because he's not this like pastiche David Ayer character that like it just makes no sense in the movie. Like it still dumbfounds me. I remember they released a photo of that when the movie was coming out, and somebody like part of the production was like, no, it's not going to look like that. That was just like a thing. And then the trailer came out like, oh no, I guess fuck us. You lied.
You lied. Thomas Barham, Leto was less annoying in this than he was in Suicide Squad, absolutely. And Raging Rhino is all in on the Bat Tank. Not a big fan of Nightcrawler. I'm a big fan of Nightcrawler from the X-Men, but I know that's not what you're talking about, so I'll allow it. I will not allow for anybody to smite the name of Kurt Wagner. I will not have that. But
my name is Kurt Wagner. But in the Munich Circus House, known as the Incredible Nightcrawler.
Incredible Nightcrawler. So, I think that it's a question of like, what do they do next? And I think that the nightmare sequence, it shows you like, man, you could really get this cool, this thing, but it's like, well, you don't really want Aquaman to be dead, do you? You know what I mean? Yeah. I want him in that movie.
He told in that Variety interview, he just was like, I guess these are spoilers, but here's what my plan was going to be. And then he outlines what the plot of the second two movies are. So you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I have.
Oh,
some
they were going to be
understanding
3. That's right. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, and I mean, it's cool to like at least give us a little taste of what that is. I feel like that's not stuff that we're actually going to get. And the nice way to kind of tidy it up is like, yeah, but then he woke up and that was just like this like super intense dream that he had, you know?
Yeah.
I did think it was interesting that we have our, you know, there's this moment where everything goes wrong and then the Flash goes back in time. So we've learned the Richard Donner school of problem solving is that if everything
he does it twice.
It's true. Yeah.
He misses the timing on the box drop, which I don't think they had that in the first one in the theatrical cut either. They have him just like perfectly hit it on time.
They do.
I think you're right. Yeah.
He messes up and then has to fix it, which I think is so much more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that he's just like, I'm actually not that good at this, but I can do it over, so it's fine. You know?
There's only 2 things Flash lore wise that bothered me. They're in the theatrical cut and they're in this because it's just like this is an oversight, you guys, and you need to get these facts.
Is it that he's not Wally?
That's the biggest one.
Okay,
no, it's hard to explain Wally as an introductory character when he became the Kid Flash because his fucking Flash uncle toured the lab with him and he got the same goddamn accident that made his uncle a superhero. But that's part of it.
Strikes twice.
Barry is already the Flash before he has a job at the crime lab. That doesn't work because that's how he gets his powers. And he's like, I'm pursuing my criminal justice career. And his dad's like, you got to stop working at dead-end jobs and whatever. I'm like, he can't storyline-wise be the Flash if he's not already there. How did he get his powers? Number 2, the Speed Force, which was created for Wally. Let's just say it. They used to talk about his hyper accelerated metabolism. So Wally, they made shtick out of it in the book. He was always eating like hamburgers and stuff. And even in the cartoon, they created the Speed Force as a reason for him to derive his speed, not from like metabolism. So it came from some other place. So then he didn't have to eat as much food because it wasn't like cannibalizing his body. But then Barry's like eating a pizza. He's like, I have this thing called the Speed Force and it makes me have to burn a bunch of calories. I'm like, that's incorrect. Those are important fucking details.
See,
Hugely important.
I like that in both versions. I like the idea, like he runs a lot, so yeah, he's going to be eating pizzas constantly. But
I wonder if
he
he
can just
never
eat pizza.
explained how he got his powers because they were waiting for him to have his own movie. I feel like the difference between Marvel and this is you can tell that they made this movie and then they had their separate ones and then completely new designs came in for everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you look at the Aquaman characters, like even like the soldiers have those helmets and you're like, I didn't see those at all in Aquaman land.
Also, Amber Heard 100% better in this movie than she is in Aquaman. Even a fake British accent improves her performance.
Why is she British in this movie and not in the other one?
Doesn't matter. She's better in this movie.
Because Britain invaded the sea. You know that they took it over.
It also doesn't explain why. It also doesn't explain why she shit in Johnny Depp's bed. So I think that they really should have addressed.
Because if you live in the ocean, you shit wherever you sleep.
That's true.
She was method acting as Mira.
Take that, Captain Jack. Yeah, I think that it's what it really comes down to, and I know I said this earlier. It's that they really felt like they needed to rush a Justice League movie. I think, give us our Flash movie, give us a second Wonder Woman movie before this, but not the one that we actually got. I mean, look, the reason why the Avengers work so well is that except for Hawkeye, who nobody gives a shit about, we cared about everybody already, even though it's not the same guy playing Bruce Banner.
Well, now with this version, you can care about
everybody. You can. But I think that if things like this happened over their own movies, like if we really got Barry's story, you wouldn't have to put so much of it in the big team up movie. And then your movie doesn't need to be 4 hours because you already know him and you already care about him.
I know. What I'm saying is I get that thing, trying to break away from Marvel, but you might as well just make a really long movie and get it all done with once so you don't have to watch it 9 hours of that to bring you to the same spot. I don't really want to see a bunch of solo movies. If you can do it properly the first time, which they didn't with the theatrical. But to me, it's interesting to say, here's this fucking 4-hour movie that just establishes everybody. And then after that, they get their little solos before we do a second one. I'm like, that's kind of a fun approach. But that, it obviously didn't go that way.
So realistically, I'll ask you first, Will, do you think that, and if it does happen, it's because of this version, do you think that Zack Snyder gets an opportunity to make something else for DC characters.
I would not rule it out.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, a year ago, I definitely would have ruled it out.
Well, didn't we get the announcement of the Snyder Cut like in May? It was early in quarantine.
Yeah, it was pretty early. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I actually think that, and the reviews have been quite positive overall. So, which also, as a big fan of Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, I'm like, there's a part of me that wants to be like the hipster about this and be like, don't fucking come around now and tell me that you like Zack Snyder's vision and you shat all over these other movies.
But maybe, honestly, maybe the difference is true Zack Snyder's vision versus
it's
fettered by the studio's vision, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the edge that we get in scenes that they would have been like, does Wonder Woman really have to cut his head off? What if she adjusts his head off? Like, with that?
Raging Rhino, literally every character improved in Snyder Cut. Yes, we've been saying that. It's like Whedon was a bartender who watered down the drinks, and he points out that he's drinking whiskey right now, so he's thinking of alcohol. But it's a great point. It's really like it's just like, just pour the water in there. It's good enough.
Yeah.
And Jeff, do you think that realistically, I don't know that maybe he would get something on the scope of a Justice League, but they'd be like, yeah, you want to do another Superman movie?
Well, I don't see how HBO is now throwing money around like there's no tomorrow to try and make new series, because now that Game of Thrones is out, they need to find the hook, the one that everybody's into, that everybody wants. So they're just going to throw money at every pilot until they have the new one. That's been their model. And now they have the streamer too. So and it's already on this. So they have the relationship.
Yeah.
There's no reason why it can't get made.
There's
too many channels. There's too many opportunities to produce things nowadays, not to make things that there's clearly a demand for.
Yeah. And I think fun thing that this opens up too, which is like a new way, and this would be kind of, unique in a backward way, I guess, because Marvel's doing it now with shows after the fact. But if DC was like, we kind of want to, this Justice League did well, let's make another, and we'll do it as like another 4-part thing, like a little mini. Like actually what I kept thinking was, this is like the Defenders, except shorter and not bad. Like I was, like in 8 hours, the Defenders like ended with like a dragon skeleton underground and Matt Murdock died. And I was like, what the fuck is this? We waited 5 seasons worth of shows for this.
Well, they clearly spent every dollar in their budget, and they're like, we can't show you the dragon. We're so sorry. We just absolutely cannot. No, I know. I'm
like, spend that money, make another 4, 5, 6, 8-part Justice League 2 or whatever. Like, just do that. Why not? That would be cool.
Clearly, the suits at the company at Warner, they are really invested in HBO Max more so than they are in having theatrical movies. So the fact that look, there is going to be this Green Lantern series. Who knows? I mean, maybe. Obviously, Zack Snyder is a theatrical director, but given an opportunity, maybe he gets another couple projects out of the way, and then it's like, do you want to do something like this again? Like just for us though, and. What if we give you 6 hours this time? Would that be something you'd be interested in? He's like, cool. Well, can 1 hour be a slow motion?
My first cut is 9 hours. Take it or leave it.
They're like, no, we had scripts that were only 60 pages, each of them.
Listen,
what did you do?
I have storyboards of a really slow-mo version of a poppy seed bagel, okay? Because I know I did Sesame seed. I just want to get through all the
I have 9 different takes of Hallelujah, and we're going to play every different one.
That is... I learned a lot through reading all these different interviews with him. That was his daughter's favorite song. So it's why it's in everything that he does, because she was alive then and then she passed away. And so now it's like, and there's also like the little nods for like suicide prevention. There's a billboard in there. Like, it's nice. He
dedicates the movie to her. I think that's obviously that's a great thing to do.
Like, say what you will about Zack Snyder, but like he's clearly, and no one has ever said a bad thing about him. Like everyone's like, he's fucking amazing. Like Ray Fisher especially is like, Joss Whedon just treated me like shit. Zack's the man. Everybody's like, Zack's such a great guy. And then we get this movie and you're like, that's right. He's clearly passionate about this. So like if people think that he sucks, at this point, I'm just like, fuck off. So you didn't like this version. Wait. And there will be another thing for you to like, but this is just not your bag right now.
I get the idea that he could be. I saw one random thing on Twitter where it was some like VFX person bitching about him, like, and my mate had to do like 8 different takes of Guardians of the Gahul, And it was just like some New Zealand or Australian person, so I took a shot. Anyways,
I appreciated that.
I forgot about Guardians
I
of
saw
Gahul.
that Owls of Gahul movie.
I forgot about that movie.
I forgot about it too. I had a and Raging Rhino makes a point. Snyder is making Army of the Dead for Netflix, so he may be open to making movies for streaming, movies, miniseries. Look, I think if it's like, and a lot of creators have gravitated towards the streaming platforms in particular because it's like, yeah, what you want to do, go ahead and do that. Like people are going to come to us because it's Zack Snyder doing more superheroes, you know?
Right.
So I wonder what we'll see. I would be surprised if he never did anything for Warner Brothers as a studio again because of Suits, not because, but I think getting an opportunity, like, let him do the next Wonder Woman movie, except I know they're already making that. So I guess Wonder Woman 4, let him do that. You know,
well, at least have him take a look at the fucking script. And I don't even think he's that great of a writer, but like anything is better than what they did. Like she goes into a cave and learns about Darkseid. As a child, she goes into a cave and learns nothing. Like that, like literally goes into a cave, another cave. There's nothing for her in there. But in this movie, like, oh, it's about the backstory and the villain, like all the things we could have used in Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, look, same studio making decisions.
And finds out about the crystal, and then we meet Desire or whoever it was. I forget.
Yeah.
We meet Dream.
I don't know when I would find time to watch it again, but other than like that's why I think that if they do release it theatrically, I would definitely go and see it. You know, and I think that I feel like it's inevitable that will happen at some point. You know,
I think so. Some Fathom events or whatever that fucking. Yeah.
Maybe you know, put a trailer for what do they have coming up? What's next for DC? What are they actually? So the Flash movie is something we're going to get.
Black Adam is shooting. Starting to shoot like in a month. They're building sets right now.
Aren't they working? They're working on Shazam too.
Yeah,
but
I think they're already working.
Photography starting on Shazam first, and then Flash, I think, and then Shazam too.
Okay, so put this in the theater. Give us a trailer for whatever the next one is. You know, show
exactly.
Oh, Suicide Squad, the new.
You're right.
James Gunn
You're right.
one.
And Suicide
I literally
Squad
was just sitting here being like, and then Guardians 3, and then I was like, wait, nope, that's why my brain did that.
Because of the lag time, Raging Rhino knew instantly. Yeah, and Suicide Squad's another that we're going to get on HBO Max, but might go see in the theater. And
I'm seeing Godzilla versus Kong in the theater, so I'm fucking
totally
seeing Suicide Squad there.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. I have a huge TV, so even like watching this on the IMAX version, I was like, yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, I watched on the projector, which is like 110 inches technically, so I was doing fine.
Yeah, you have a big dick.
I'm not. We get it, Will. Okay, stop showing off.
Hot dog in the pocket.
That's really what I should
have long,
baby. But I am. I have definitely talked in the past that Godzilla is not my jam. I don't love me some Kong, but if I'm ever going to see this movie, I definitely want to see it on a big screen. So I might actually go see it at the drive-in. But I think by the summer, I can see like going to see it in the theater. Are you going to your local
Cinemark in NoHo, where I still got I had 4 credits sitting there waiting for me for over a year. Birds of Prey was the last movie I saw in theaters.
The last movie I saw was Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I heard it was good.
I thought it was supposed to be good, and it was one of those ones where everybody. Sorry, go into this, but
I thought it was supposed to be good.
Well, no, because I literally bought it on the premise of like it was on sale, and I was like, everybody's saying this is dope. I love her as an actress, and I watched the movie and just wanted to punch her. I was like, this is fucking stupid. The bad guy doesn't make any sense. Okay, look,
it's true.
The movie is based on the idea.
I haven't seen it yet.
I'm gonna ruin it for you because it's stupid.
I didn't do anything.
Don't
blame Elizabeth Moss for being a Scientologist, if anything.
Fine. I'll just tell you this: it's based on a scientific idea of why somebody's invisible, and then doesn't follow any science after that. So it's just ludicrous.
Would you have preferred Hollow Man 3 with Kevin Bacon?
Yes. Definitely.
Every day.
They did make
Hollow Man still scares me because the idea that I really thought that horrible CGI and silly B movie acting in that movie aside, the idea that like you lose your morality when you no longer have to face yourself in the mirror, I thought is genius horror movie plot.
Yeah.
Well,
one of these
just
days
final thought that from Raging Rhino, the DC fan of me enjoyed the Ryan Choi scenes and the, am I saying Kilowog correct, cameo?
Yep.
And
Yes,
so
you are.
I don't know that
Poozer.
character, but that's
you don't know. You've seen him. He's the big orange beefy Green Lantern. He's this alien. The big buff one. Michael Clark Duncan did the voice.
You mean the
one with the giant nose holes and then his teeth are like rook, the top of a rook.
You're talking about the mascot for the Syracuse Orangemen? Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know that guy. I didn't realize that was Michael Clark Duncan.
No, because that's a different guy. There's a different Green Lantern that's basically just a big fucking orb. So you can't go there.
There's also a Green Lantern that's a whole planet. So,
and by the way, when are we getting the Green Lantern Star Trek actually in the theater?
That would be great.
Those
are good. I was hoping they would do a third one.
Yeah.
When are we getting Batfleck Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the theater?
Not soon enough, by the way.
That would be amazing.
Are you reading The Last Ronin, Will?
What's The Last Ronin?
That's an ongoing turtle story. It's sort of like Old Man Turtles. It's like a set in a bit in the future.
No, I don't really read Turtles comics.
I don't either, but that one caught me because the Eastman and Laird, the creators, actually are working on it, and they haven't done turtle shit in like forever.
Together, yeah.
I'll let you borrow it one day when I see you again. Maybe when we go to the movies, not for Kong vs. Godzilla, but something. I love that
Suicide
cinema.
Squad. Tom does make an important distinction. It's not just Suicide Squad. It's the Suicide Squad. That's how you know it's different from the first one.
Suicide Squad.
And he even used the polka dots.
Well, anyway, it was fun to see and fun to do a wrap-up show that is only a quarter of the length of the movie that we are reviewing. But it was fun to talk about it. Will, where do people go to keep in touch with you?
At Will Sterling _. That's where you can find me.
That's the Twitter and the Instagram.
Yeah.
Jeff, you're there, but you don't want to be found.
Yeah, I'm square.
Actually, it's a rectangle. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And if you're watching this live and you are in Southern California, then tomorrow, Saturday, March 20th, make sure that you head out to Lake Elsinore, Diamond Stadium, home of the Lake Elsinore Storm, for the drive-in concert with our friends at Kissed Alive with a guest announcer, yours truly. And my plan is to make sure that when I say that you wanted the best, you got the best, the hottest tribute band in the land. I hope I throw out my voice for like the rest of the week, but we'll see what happens.
Can I make one final joke comment?
Please.
Let the record show that we keep this show to a tight hour. It's possible. Only when Christian has to stop recording because his kids are coming home.
It's the only way. No, actually, if my kids are already
coming home, right?
If my kids are already home, that's when we do like 2.5
That's
hours.
right. Then you're in the basement.
Because that's like that's keeping me from actually going back upstairs and interacting with my family, and I don't want to do that.
I'd like to make a comment too. Kissed Alive sounds like sexual assault.
Yes. It's better than Kissed Dead. And look at this. Raging Rhino is reading he's on a nostalgia kick, reading all the Crisis on Infinite Earth tie-ins. You know, I read Crisis on Infinite Earth for the first time last summer, and we can talk about that at some point. I wanted to talk about that with our pal Jeff Winston, but that's all in the future. That's all the time we have for now. The Speed Force future. But we appreciate everybody joining us for the live chat. And everybody who is watching this after the fact, leave comments, subscribe to the Bladtcast Entertainment Network. I'm begging you to join.
Wait,
beg.
How is BEN, Bladtcast Entertainment Network, beg?
I don't know. I just wanted to get the G in there.
If you spell network with
a
G,
network like that.
Yeah, like GNU.
Network. Yeah,
it's like GNU. Yeah. So subscribe, join, all that fun stuff. Bladtcast, BLADTCAST. Thank you to Will, Jeff, and everybody in the chat, but, mostly Raging Right on Thomas Parham, but, everybody else too. We'll see you next time on the Bladtcast.